comfy there?
Yeah, we're getting there. I feel like a Backstreet Boy sitting on one of these. Tell me why ain't nothing but... Right. I will begin. Right guys, welcome back to the Beautiful Struggle podcast. I am again on location, a new backdrop in the city of Manchester. The next guest, hard to pin down this one. I think he's the only person that can challenge me on miles travelled in a week. Difference is, he's in the air.
Yeah.
I'm on the fucking motorways. And he'd probably be on the motorways if he had a fucking driving licence, but he hasn't, so he's up in the air in his PJ. We have, of course, the pro coach, Mr. Calum Raistrick, on the pod. Welcome.
Magic.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome to the podcast, bye.
It's nice to be asking you some questions instead of you asking me.
Role reversal this.
Have you cheated this week, Magic?
23 times.
Today. Yeah, so we've been filming Procoach content today. Actually, the Procoach podcast, which I imagine by the time this is out, the first episode should be out for that, unless you've got a schedule in mind whenever I send it over. Just throw them up.
Yeah.
Throw them up. So we've been doing the Procoach podcast, which is a new thing, on location. I think he's taken inspiration from the Beautiful Struggle, if I'm honest. In person. It is so much different being in person with the full camera setup than Zoom. So we've been filming those today, back to back. The dogs crying after Hannah.
Dog's currently wondering where Hannah's gone.
Hannah's just left the building.
And she's like, please don't leave me with Dad.
Yeah.
Hey, it's alright, hon. Shh.
But, so we've decided, while I'm up here, we'll get one done. Because this had been in the works for some time.
Yeah.
I wanted to try and get it done in prep when I was like fully in my emotions, but we're about 5 weeks more short.
You just about recovered, bounced back.
Just about. A little bit heavier, a little bit rounder, a bit softer, but we're all good. So rather than bouncing, like, you know, doing the standard thing of going from the beginning, where did you start out?
Not again, boy.
Shit. So today, let's have a look at Procoach where it's at today. So obviously, I was privy to a meeting with Ben and the team a few weeks back.
Yeah. And
you're kind of leveling up again with Procoach. So kind of where are you at with the whole team now, the brand and everything?
It's just more expansion, isn't it? We've kind of got the avenues we want to work down with the physique side and the prep side and the education, and then I think for us it's just constantly trying to either improve those elements that we're already doing or just launch or nurture things that we can launch alongside, like the Procoach process or the Procoach prep process that we're just about bringing out now. It's the same kind of process where there's like small additions alongside the main service that we offer, where we can just draw more people in and more people can benefit from the service at different price points or different time frames.
Yeah.
Now more than ever, it's the business is structured like a business now, whereas before it was just me coaching and then trying to kind of organise things on the side. And that's had a massive beneficial impact. Like, bringing in people who are employed, bringing in someone that is full time in terms of admin. Zoe's been incredibly helpful. Bringing in Alex as team manager, it takes more responsibility off me and just allows me to just focus on actually coaching and then just make sure that the roles that they are doing are actually fulfilled as they should be. Whereas before it was like me trying to balance coaching and everything else, and the coaching would get done but the management side wouldn't. Did
you expect the team and the whole brand to expand as quick as it did?
I just knew that when we made the split from the Muscle Mentors and the direction it went in, I knew that there would definitely be I knew that there was a niche that was waiting for me to go down after that, and I knew it was like, right, I can really define myself in that position now, and that's
We're just dealing with it. This is real.
Ava, can you give it a rest, mate?
The beautiful struggle.
It was a perfect opportunity. It's perfect timing. Yeah. Everything that unfolded post Muscle Mentors worked worked very well in terms of what sector and line we wanted to move in, and then really the first year that we had the first year that we had launch, that 2022 season was the one where we had a lot of success on stage.
Yeah.
She's going to start howling like a wolf in a minute.
Really?
Yeah. Just give it a minute. We're building up. We're building up.
It doesn't quite match Ross's soundboard in the pro. But it's close.
I'll give her a treat in a minute.
I could cut this bit out anyway, if needed.
It was that the launch, and then starting with the 2022 season last year, where we had such a prolific year in terms of success on the stage.
Yeah.
That was what really kind of leveraged it really, really nicely.
Yeah.
And then like you've got like Ross now getting pro cards, you've got Zach winning pro cards, and coaching people all over the world, and then the coaches are just going in and fulfilling the roles that they were put there to do, and everything kind of just moves forwards.
Because with obviously.
Do you want to stop, guys? The thing is, like, give him 5 minutes and they'll calm down.
Is it?
But this is when she first leaves.
Do you want to give it 5 minutes?
I'll text her and say she can.
I'm just going to keep this recorded. Today's guest on the Beautiful Struggle podcast, Ava and Coops.
It's going really well, man.
Yeah, so with Procoach, so 2022 was like when it first launched.
Yeah.
How long before, because obviously you had Muscle Mentors beforehand, how long before that was you kind of like thinking about the Procoach brand, like splitting off and going into it on your own?
I think the Muscle Mentors was obviously a professional collaboration of me and Luke at the start, and obviously he was very, very good and very passionate about the education side and exercise mechanics, and super smart guy. But he always had the notion of like wanting to do education as a forefront, and then coaching was just something he loved doing, but it was education that was the passion, the main thing, right? And that obviously that just, as the business grew, and as Paul came on and as James came on, that just got more and more. It just grew in that direction.
The education side,
which it would. But then it got to a point where I was only coaching, and coaching a lot, and wasn't really contributing from an education standpoint. And to be fair, like at that time frame and at that level, I wasn't as invested or as passionate about the education side as they were, because they were like knee deep in it. Yeah. I just wanted to coach more. And at that point, I think that's where we had the conversation of, look, in the back of my mind, I was thinking like, look, I would rather, it would make sense to make this a very specific, moving into that niche brand that just operates in that and does that. Yeah. Instead of trying to tick all boxes, so to speak. And then I think it just became apparent that like it just made more sense for me to move in that direction and make it an actual thing, and instead of trying to balance both sides.
Because like even though it's only been like it's 2023 now, so it's only been around like roughly a year, maybe.
For what?
Procoach.
Yeah, I think we rebranded. The finish of the rebrand was February 2022.
So still not that long.
Yeah, just over a year and a half, basically.
Year and a bit, yeah. But it still feels like, even though it's only been around that long, Procoach it feels like it's been around for like 5 years. Yeah. Because it's that, like, the name has been cemented in the industry in 18 months. Yeah. As if it's been around for fucking 5-6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
We've seen brands come and you have to get more treats out. It feels like there's brands that have come in and gone in longer periods of time that haven't had the impact that Procoach has had. Which is awesome to be, to witness, to be a part of business-wise, and also on a personal level.
I think Hannah's coming back now.
Really? No, she can't quit a gym session for that.
Yeah, she's here already. That side was it was because we kind of built that traction from the Muscle Mentors, and then you just leveraged it when Procoach
snowball from there.
Because I think people were I think people were almost waiting or anticipating something like that eventually happening.
Yeah.
When the Muscle Mentor started to kind of like blend into all sorts of stuff, if that makes sense.
It's mad that there was a gap in the market for it in such a saturated coaching industry as well.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
I know that one. I've heard that one before. Yeah, it's mad to think that in such a saturated industry within coaching, there was a gap still in the market for you to kind of step into. I kind of know where that gap was, really, just because of other people that have kind of stepped away from the coaching side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great to see. It's great to see. What, like in terms of the team now, how many coaches you got under you?
8.
8 coaches. Is there expansion in future as well?
September.
I can't take any more fucking jobs on by September.
Well, yeah, there will be in the near future. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Right, so taking it back, because there are going to be people, believe it or not, Cal, I know you're a big name in the game, but there might be some people that think,
Who the fuck is this guy?
Who's this guy with the moustache that everyone seems to be
Who's this old
copying now? Yeah. So the background isn't bodybuilding, it's rugby.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's the sport background from what I remember.
I used to play a lot of sport. I used to play cricket, I used to play rugby. But both my dad and my brother were way better sportsmen than I was.
Yeah.
They dad played for international rugby, my brother played for England, age groups. I was like good to a point where I'd be like school rugby captain all the way through. I'd go to university, and then at university I went to Hartbury College, which is like a legitimate rugby university.
Yeah.
Which is like the sister academy to Gloucester.
Right.
And then you realise that you're not that good at rugby.
You're actually shit.
It's like, didn't think this one through.
Yeah, and your brother's killing it.
And my brother's killing it, yeah.
What's the age difference between you and your brother?
4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
Older or younger?
He's older.
He's older.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure when he left university he had a contract for Bath Rugby Club, but he didn't take it because a university degree. If you go in and do academy rugby but you get injured after 6 months,
You're screwed.
then you're fucked.
Yeah, yeah.
So he went down the uni route and just did that way.
Didn't carry on with any rugby.
He played rugby through uni and for a couple of years after he graduated, but it wasn't like pro level.
Yeah.
But he was like really, really good when he was younger. Remember Danny Cipriani?
Yeah, yeah.
So basically, John and Danny Cipriani were both centres at the age group that they were playing in.
Oh, really?
Cipriani got picked for the whatever team it was, and John got pied off. Savage.
Yeah.
He played. Watched him play against France. Scored a very good try against France.
That's pretty cool though for him to do.
Pretty sick, yeah. And then I was there thinking, I got the genetics, I got the blood in me.
Yeah.
No, you're shit.
Yeah. Did you have that? You know, when you see it in like programs or on films where like the older brother's killing it, and you're like the brother.
He was a lot cleverer than me as well.
So, really?
Well, didn't have much going for me.
What a fucking letdown, Cal. what a waste of space.
And then they were like, you want to be a personal trainer? Yeah, I'm going to do this personal training thing.
Yeah.
All right then.
I was that little personal trainer
thing going.
There was a
little PT job going.
And then that was it London you were working or?
Yeah, so I did LA Fitness was the first job. I did recruitment at Michael Page, which I hated.
Yeah.
But I ticked the corporate box. Like I definitely don't want to do that anymore because I think I did it like 4 months and it was just dreadful.
Yeah.
It's just not like there are some people that absolutely killed it there, but it's just, I had no passion for it, so I just had no drive to really do anything with the job.
4 months says a lot.
Yeah, 4 months in and out. And then it was LA Fitness to start, and then that was where I first started gym instructor work, doing some classes, PC on the side, and then worked my way up there for a year and a bit, and then went to, you might have seen it on the Instagram a couple of years ago when we used to train there in Prep when we lived down there, Halo Gym. Yeah. Was called The Gym before, now it's called Halo Gym.
Yeah.
That was where I was at before I moved to M10, and then M10 for 3 years, which is where Most of it happened, to be fair.
Yeah,
when I was around Mark and James and who was it in that team? I think Danny Fox left when I joined, and it was Dan Smith, me, James, Josh Maley.
Was M10 always based where M10 is now?
Nottingham, yeah.
In that same building as well?
Yeah. Made Marion Way.
Yeah. It's a weird location for a gym, isn't it? Because it's like
literally on the roundabout.
Yeah. When I
but
went
a lot of cars pass it.
Yeah.
But that was obviously never membership based. It was just PT based.
Right. Yeah.
But I think now they do have a small membership because I actually finished my prep there in 2019. We went back to Nottingham.
Well, on the topic of prep, so obviously you did a bit of bodybuilding yourself alongside the coaching.
Undefeated.
One and done.
One win.
Well, that was my plan last year, you fucker. Much to my wife's fucking yeah. So you obviously were full on with the bodybuilding. I think when I kind of started seeing you about or hearing your name and stuff with the coaching alongside Muscle Mentors, you were like full on wearing both hats.
Yeah.
And then I think the more we've worked together, you've kind of, you've definitely hung the hat up.
I haven't trained in about 3 weeks. No, actually, that's a lie. I did train in Tampa.
Did you?
I did.
It wasn't legs, or was it?
Don't think it was legs. No.
You better not have been, because every time I ask you to train, it's like
I trained chest, I trained a bit of back, trained some shoulders. That's about it.
Beach muscles only.
I only train legs at shreds. Familiar
Only.
with the equipment.
There you go.
Keep my knees happy.
There we go, Reese. So what was that decision to kind of stop the bodybuilding? Was that when the coaching just got overwhelmed with like?
Yeah, it was like I did that prep in 2019 with Jordan, won that PCA show, and that was brilliant. And then I came away from that, and I was like, right, I want to. I wasn't really familiar with two bros that much back then. I didn't have any clients competing in two bros. It was just PCA.
Yeah.
And after that, that's where it started to move across to the NPC. But when I'd done that PCA show, I was like, right, I want to come back and I want to be like class 1 bodybuilding next time I compete because I was the first timer then. So that's where we did that kind of big off season push where that was like a year, 18 months, all the way through to the first lockdown, and that was I went from like. I think I was 91 kilos on stage. And I think within a year I was like 136 kilos. So it was like best part of like 100-pound gain pretty much.
I remember seeing a couple of videos, I think, maybe at that time. Videos at that time.
Yeah, I was a big boy.
Yeah.
But very impractical. Very, very impractical.
Yeah, well, that's kind of it, isn't it?
Very impractical. Lower back pumps were fairly severe.
Useless at everything apart from that hour.
Pretty much useless at everything. Yeah, fall asleep at my desk. It's very. I loved it. I loved training when I was like that. I loved that. I do miss that. I look back and I think, fucking hell, I really enjoyed that. And that was a big part of my life. But you also do realise when you take a step back, you're like, I've got a lot of energy and resources and time now that I didn't have back there that I can make the most of. And I'm pretty confident that, you look at the last 18 months of Procoach and when Muscle Mentors finished, there's no way that I could have facilitated that level of growth while still maintaining that bodybuilding as well. Not a chance.
No way.
But it's like, it's not me like shunning what I was doing, because like if I could balance them both, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But I just really struggle to balance both. And I'm also someone that, I don't think it's OCD, but like, unless I can do something perfectly, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So like if I was training and I was, even if I was like pushing PEDs like we used to when I was, and it was never like crazy because I was never going to make anything mega competitive from it. It was just a passion. But like it would just not make sense in my head doing that and then missing 2 meals a day or not being able to train that day because I didn't make it to the gym. Like any level of suboptimal in that part of my life was enough to then just say, I'm just going to park that now. Yeah, I'm going to park that now. And it's like I don't. Unless I'm going to compete, there's literally no point in me being this heavy.
No.
And then that was at a time where like fucking Luke Sando passed away, and like.
There was a lot when it was that
Sean Roden passed away. Loads of people, and then you're like, oh Jesus, okay.
Yeah. Because how old were you then? At that time, 2020.
29, 28.
Yeah, 29, 28. Yeah.
28.
Yeah. It's good that you actually had the realisation to do it though, because you were balls deep in bodybuilding at that time.
Oh, yeah.
So for you to have that realisation.
But I knew it as well. I knew my body didn't want to be
Yeah.
that heavy. Like my blood pressure wasn't great. Like
Yeah.
I had sleep apnea, and I was doing what I should be doing to try and maintain my ability to sustain it. But in the back of my mind, there was also a thought of like, there's really no point you doing this.
Yeah.
You're just doing it because you love to train when you're heavy, and you're just doing it because you like to progress your sessions. You're just doing it because you like to be. I just like to live like that because of that 2 hours in the gym that I get to spend in. And it was a massive escapism. But you also, the other side of the story is like, look, work's going really well, coaching's busy, you can definitely take on more and you can grow this and facilitate more growth.
Yeah.
But that's the limiting factor.
Was there anyone that kind of talked to you to put you in that frame of mind that is it worth it, or was it purely just yourself realising it?
I think it's more so myself. Like I know that James Sutton used to mentor me at M10, and I saw him go through that process himself when he left M10. When him and his wife had their first child, I'd seen him like wind down things in terms of bodybuilding and kind of strike a better balance in terms of just training, because he loves training and training to stay in shape year round. And I was like, that's neat. Like it's cool. Seeing someone do it in person is different than thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw that, I was like, it makes sense for me to do that.
Makes
really.
sense. Yeah. Just like a light bulb moment. Maybe. Yeah. Mad really. Was like coming with that, because this is just from a personal side that I'm asking you this as well. Is like obviously mentally, how hard was that to kind of accept coming away from it?
My way of accepting it was completely blocking off that side of my life. Like there's probably when we were at the busiest last year, there'd probably be 4 or 5 week gaps where I wouldn't go to the gym and train.
Yeah.
I'd go and check in clients, and I'd go and check people and I'd take people through sessions, but I wouldn't train myself. That's
got, like, even though you said you've completely blocked out your life, it's still 90% of your day though, isn't it?
It's all my day.
Yeah, all your day.
But that's why, like, the thing to understand is like, when you're from the second you get up to the second you go to bed, and you're coaching 100 plus people who are all on prep, who are all going through that process, who are all checking in multiple times a week, and you're speaking to them all day, so much of your energy is spent on that and consumed by it, that when you actually think about, right, I'm going to go to the gym now and do a 2 hour leg session,
it's not that appealing.
2 years ago I would have done it.
Yeah.
But me going in now, going and doing a 3-plate pendulum squat with my knees hurting, back then I would have done it because I can do 8 plates and I can enjoy the session. I can go in and push myself and just clear my head. Now it's like I just don't. The pull for me to do it is not there, and I get more self-fulfillment out of seeing the people I coach go and excel at lengths that will be greater than what I could do myself. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that's kind of filling that.
Which is filling the gap. When we go out to the shows and when we win the Procards, when we do this, when we do that, like that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like that's what I get a buzz off. It's not my own stuff.
And also, obviously, with the lady upstairs, I'm sure conversations were had that side of things as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Which I blocked off for a good 3-4 years.
What, blocked the conversations off?
You can wait. Got another £30 to gain. But then you get to a point where it's like, this is
you got to do a U-turn, innit?
Yeah.
You got to do a U-turn.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even, obviously, you know exactly how heavy I am, but like even now Carla's like, you can't get much heavier or bigger, but the reality is I'm not that big.
It's relative though, isn't it? It's relative.
It is relative to where I started and what I was. Like, but
it's all relative. And like that's like, it's just like, you just got to own, like if I didn't have coaching, I didn't have work, and I didn't have the guys in the team, and that focus in my life, and I didn't have Han as well, that transitionary period would have been much, much harder. But my mind, if I'm not 100% bodybuilding, it just goes to 100% business.
Yeah.
And in that time frame, that, if we've tripled the revenue of the business, well, that's all I've focused on for the last 18 months.
Yeah.
And that's reflected in what's happened.
And
as long as I can see that tangible, I'm sweet.
That progression is somewhere else.
Switched on someone else. Because if you didn't have that, you'd go insane.
Yeah, you're gonna. I had this conversation with Carl again the other day about there'll always be something else that I need to focus on. Yeah. Which
if I didn't have that, I would. Yeah, I'd go. I just take a Primo out of the cupboard and I go, right, I'm going back in.
Here we go. Here we go again. Lift off.
You just have to fill that void with something. It's still competitive. It's still daily accountability. It's still filling your time. It's still keeping your mind focused. You're still seeing progression out of it, but it's just another aspect of what's going on. And like, there is a difference between being £230 and £315 jacked out your eyeballs.
So is that you were 315 top
I think
end?
the heaviest I got was like 315. Yeah, it was over 310. It might have been like 314, something like that.
Right. And what are you now roughly? Or haven't you probably
last time I
weighed?
I was like £240.
It's like £70 you've dropped. £70.
Yeah, a pure muscle.
But you feel like a new man.
I feel normal. I feel
normal.
But like there are times where, especially the only times that I relish in missing it is in the gym.
Yeah.
Is in the gym.
Just that 2 hours.
And like when you like unrack like an incline chest press and you could like 3 plates easy, 4 plates easy, 5 plates easy. Now it's like 2 plates, you're like, ooh, okay.
Yeah.
Feel that kicking in. But it's like, it just is what it is, mate. It is what it is.
Do you think if it gets to a level where Procoach is like, I mean, obviously it's flying now, but it gets to a level where you can take a little bit of a step back from everything, do you think that will seep back in?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
Do you think?
I've always thought that, yeah. Not to the point of like me competing,
but
like me striking a balance with like, I'm going to train this amount of times a week.
Yeah.
I'm going to be way more proactive.
Just to put a bit more focus on the training side.
And I miss it, and I know that will be soon, but it's just getting to a point where like the guys in the team or the team's expanded or whatever it might be, like we're getting there now, and it's been a really big 18 months, but that's a longer term plan, 100%. Like I won't be traveling as much maybe in the next 3-5 years.
Yeah.
I'll be working with less people. The team will be facilitating more because that will have expanded, and then I can just take back more control, so to speak.
With your clients, you know when you got to this peak where you were like, probably your head was falling off. What kind of number are we looking at, client-wise?
170.
Just you?
Yeah.
Fuck me.
It's a lot.
How many check-ins a day is that?
No idea.
Probably blows into one, does it?
People were doing multiple check-ins a week.
Yeah. Yeah, that's nasty. On what you mentioned something there about, because I had like a note here about you having more fulfillment from seeing the other guys that you coach.
Yeah.
Killer. What's more rewarding for you, right? A Procard win from someone that's getting away with it and doing the half-fast approach, or just a class win from someone that's putting like the graft in? Would you? I mean, obviously the Procard status is amazing because that's kind of what you're looking for. But like how you feel about it personally when someone gets that, but they've kind of fucking.
At the start, if you asked me a year ago, it would have been Procard.
All right, okay, so it's changed.
But now it's changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you asked me a year ago, the Procard was like the epitome of like, nobody else is doing this. Like nobody else in the UK has got. I don't know if anyone's ever got 10 Procars in 1 year, but like we're like you look at the US coaches. There are US coaches who are training at like 30-40 a year. They've obviously got 2-3 Procars per class per show. Like top 2 in every class wins a Procard.
Yeah.
Whereas over here, like a Procard was more of a rarity, and obviously a year ago that would have been my measure of this is like a massive fulfillment thing, and it's obviously still fucking great now.
Yeah, of course.
But the more that you see that happen, and the more you go through that process, the more like the meaning behind the win matters. And like if you had someone that had started from rock bottom with you and worked their way up 2-3 years, whatever it might be, and then grafted their ass off and had won a British final or won, even if it was an overall at a regional, but they started from somewhere miles and miles away, like that would be a massive
You'll get fulfillment
win,
from that. Yeah. Yeah, you probably just get desensitized to that status of the Procard, I guess. When it's just an everyday thing.
Because it's like, there are times last year where I remember when I think it might have been China Green, because we have Momsy who turned pro in men's physique, and then like an hour later China turned pro at the same show. And that was so stressful that weekend that I was like completely numb to everything that was going on. Like she turned pro and I walked off with Ali and walked backstage.
Really?
Because like we slept at the airport the night before.
Yeah.
Flight got cancelled. We had to book new flights. I had Momsy Valentin staying with me for that week.
I remember seeing.
And then we flew to Finland. And then Brightman was competing. Valentin was competing. China was competing. Zach Leeson was competing. Salah was competing.
This was. Or Loki was filming all this stuff.
Loki was filming. Ham was filming Joe.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a whirlwind. But I was like, it's just relief.
Yeah.
It's more so like, it wasn't like I knew she could win.
Yeah.
So I'd already accepted it in my mind. Like if she's 100%, nobody beats her.
Yeah.
So it wasn't really like a celebration. It was more like, right, we pulled it off, which is mad.
Just weight off your shoulders.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's like, that's one box tick now.
I overheard you talking earlier actually when we were setting the podcast up. I think you were talking to Ross or Alex, I think, about where you did get to that point where if you weren't getting a pro card in the show, you were like disappointed.
Yeah.
Or was it like because you were just gunning for that every single time, and then you went through it? You had like a dry spell, I think you said.
Yeah.
What was that like? 5 weeks or something?
Yeah. Where
you didn't win a pro card.
I was like, oh, what's happening there?
It's a long time though, wasn't it?
Momentum slowed down.
Had you been winning them consecutively up until that point?
Yeah. Last year was like consistent, like one or two a month. Yeah.
For how long? Like ratio wise, like
6 months.
6 months pro card every month, and then you had like a couple of weeks where you didn't.
Yeah. And then I was like,
fucking spoiled, didn't he?
It's off. Yeah, it's weird. It's one of those things. I think the biggest thing for the coaching front was the level of success we had last year.
Yeah.
It was just having to repeat that this year. So like you imagine like, what's a good analogy? Man City winning the treble.
You had to bring football in, didn't you?
They're just down the road. Man City winning the treble. Mm-hmm. And Pep Guardiola in his mind is now thinking, I've got to win the treble again, haven't I?
I've got to live up to this now.
Because anything that's less than that is shit.
You've set your own bar, yeah.
Yeah. Which, inevitably you can't do that every single year. Mm-hmm. But when you're competitive, in your mind, deep down, that's the only way that year's successful.
I went through that this year with you again, because I didn't have the overall. So I get exactly what you're saying, obviously, on a much
and you look back
scale.
And you think, bloody, I won this show, won that show. But then there's a little voice in your head that thinks, well, you didn't win the sword, did you?
Yeah, you didn't win the sword, so it's like fucking lost. But again, you talked about it on the Oscar podcast, which is on the Procoach channel, about the fact that you got to be realistic with where you're at, and what you should receive. But yeah, that's mad, mate. That's mad. I'm going to jump into some of these questions that I've got off IG.
Far away. I'm going to make sure Mitch doesn't text me.
Yep, go for it. Shout out to Mitch, who's over in Texas.
He's made it over in Texas.
Made it to Texas, just about.
The legend.
He calls himself the dragon, but there's only one dragon, we both know that.
Well, there's about 6 dragons now.
There's one fucking dragon, mate. And you're fucking looking at him. Is he awake?
Yeah.
Right. I'm not sure if we've actually got into this really, because we've talked about like where you're looking to take Procoach, but Shig has asked, Shig37 has asked, what is your goal with coaching this year? I mean, there's only a couple of months left to it, but this season, I guess.
Yeah. The goal is to continue, fulfilling what was set out in terms of the clients we had and the targets were set for those clients. I think that is being done, and it's been a good year so far.
Yeah, killing it.
One thing that's a little bit different this year to last year is the growth of the team and the growth of their individual clients, and that is just as much a part of the year in terms of targets than mine is, because if we want Procoach to grow into what I envision it to be, that needs to grow at the same rate that I'm growing. So they're nurturing that and allowing the boys to take what they need to take in terms of exposure and using the platform to grow themselves is massively important. Yeah. And that's something that we've invested a lot into this year in terms of ensuring that can happen.
Because I guess it's mad for you because you've turned what was just coaching and looking after someone's diet and training and getting results on stage for you to now you're still doing that, but now you're also managing numbers and targets and the business side of things as well with the boys and the team.
Yeah.
So how much involvement do you have in the team? Like, do they do their own stuff, or do you get a little bit of? Do you put a bit of input into them?
So we'll communicate.
Yeah.
We'll communicate. The coaching side of things, they run very autonomously, unless there is something that they want to reach out and open up to and just get a second eye on, which is like I just looked at Dara, then Zach's client in person, because he can't be here, and then I'll feed back to Zach and be like, look, this is what's happening in person. Then he's got like it's
someone to
that's part of the team, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good.
And that side's really powerful in terms of like hands-on managerial. Like, this is why we've built the team in the way we have, and this is why people are salaried, is because they're now they're full-time roles.
Yeah.
And something that we didn't do in the Muscle Mentors, which is why I think at the end it happened how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to do all the stuff ourselves, and you get to a point where you can't do it yourself.
Yeah, you need to delegate.
You can't self-manage it. So, one of the first things we did when we started the Procoach was get somebody to manage the logistics, get somebody to manage the CRM, get somebody to manage the PA work, get somebody to manage the social media, get somebody to manage the finances and the accountant and liaison with that. So, like, now I can just focus on coaching, and if there's something that I need to get done, then I just ask for it to get done.
Is it a massive contrast this year to where you are now, kind of like dealing with your coaching, compared to like this time last year?
Yeah, because a lot of those things weren't in place.
Because they weren't in place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
Which is like a bit scary when you look at your business account and it's like, how much have we paid out? But then, like, after a while, you get to a point where the outgoings and the paying people to do certain things, after a while you kind of get over the hiccup and then you see the return. But at the start you don't, which is why it's a little bit alarming. Yeah. But then if you give it 6 months and you really commit and spend time allowing those things to be nurtured and seeing the actual benefit and buying the time back because of it, then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, I should have done this 6 months ago. Yeah. But that's just a constant thing of like growth, invest back in, growth, invest back in.
Yeah, so it's only going to keep happening, I guess, every 6 to 12 months.
Because if you don't do it, that's where it will just plateau out. Because like you've only got a certain amount of time and brain space as one individual.
Yeah.
Which is what we spoke about with you.
Yes.
And your videoing.
It's only so much time.
Only so much time.
Race against time.
Only so many hours and miles you can drive.
There's always a couple more hours you can squeeze in by.
Not in that Range Rover. 900,000 miles on it.
Oh, don't speak about it. Right, a direct bodybuilding question, mate. I didn't want to go into this, but they're here, so we'll have it. Josh Mills asks, 20-year-old guy trying to put on some serious mass naturally. Top 3 things to focus on.
Nutrition, quality and quantity. You're probably going to be under eating, or you have under eaten in the past relative to what you need to do and sustain it for long periods of time. How old is he? He's like not
20 years old.
20 years old.
Young
sleep,
pup.
because your sleep is probably going to be shit if you're 20. Playing too much PlayStation, going out too much.
Don't worry about sleep.
If you want to grow, that second one's important. Recovery in general, sleep, and then I'd say diet is the main one because people just chronically undereat.
Yeah.
Try and stay peeled year round when you're in your 20s as well. Is like, if you let yourself get to a comfortable set point where you're still in control but you're facilitating training progression with enough food and you're allowing your body weight to go up, that's ultimately where it's going to come from. Yeah. Because it's like push up, tidy it, hold it, push up, tidy it, hold it, and so forth. Yeah. And then 3 probably is just finding a framework for training that works for you and that you can sustain it and progress it for long periods of time. And that I'm very, very against the belief now that it has to be this way. Like, find a training modality that you enjoy, that you can recover from, that allows for sustainability, that you can progress over a long period of time, and just do it for a long period of time.
I think a lot of people, right, just from conversations I've had since working with you for the last 2 years, they'll come to me or they'll say, what's Cal like as a coach and what's his training like? And I think they get this like perception that it's really sciencey and really like out there.
Yeah.
With what we see on socials, but obviously working with you for it's nothing of the sort. It's just hard fucking training, and again, exactly what you just said. So, yeah, I think people just Chinese whispers around the industry will, spreadsheets and Google Sheets and all this, all this checking stuff. Yeah. But it's nothing of the sort. Like it's
the length of time and the breadth of athlete and individual that I've coached, like whether they're competitors or whether they're competitive athletes or there's people that like to train. One thing that becomes apparent is when you're working with someone, in order for that coaching relationship to succeed, you need to address the individual first before you address the goal.
Yeah.
And they're going to have certain preferences and they're going to have certain dislikes. Mm-hmm. And the training, it's just like the nutrition. Like if you came to me and said, look, my goal is this, I hate to, I'm writing your meal plan, you're like, fucking hate red meat and I don't like to eat fish, and I give you 5 meals of fish a day, what's going to happen at the start of the coaching process? Or it's like, I prefer to track macros. Is it possible if you give me macros per meal on a calorie goal and I give you a really strict meal plan? Mm-hmm. You're falling at the first hurdle. And the training's the exact same thing. Like you see what they've done in the past, you see what their preferences are, what they like to do, what they don't like to do. You look at what needed to be immediately adjusted based on what they're doing when they came to you.
Yeah.
Correct some elements of it first and then just evolve over time. Because if 9 times out of 10, like especially people that are more experienced, you try and fit something into a certain box, it's not gonna fit with synergy.
Yeah.
And you need to have a longer term process of just adapting and molding and improving things over time.
Yeah. What if someone came to you and said that they really can't have peanut butter on their diet because they'll fucking eat the whole tub? Like
give more of the peanut butter.
Dark chocolate, please.
Dark chocolate, yeah. And asparagus.
Dark chocolate and asparagus. Andy Craig.
Andy Craig. He's not a dragon.
No, he's not. There's only one, man. Baby dragon.
Well, at this point, you're dragon. You're probably dragon number 1. Mitch, dragon number 2.
Soundbite.
Mitch, dragon number 2. We've got Ash, dragon number 3 now.
Yeah.
We've got Craig coming in, dragon number 4. Richard Donald, dragon number 5. There are dragons all over the place.
Yeah.
Dragons all over the place.
Chloe is like half dragon because she lives in Wales.
Is she Welsh though?
No, it's not.
You've got to be Welsh to be a dragon.
Oh, sorry, Chloe.
Yeah.
Sorry.
She's more of a... What's the bird that sets on fire in Harry Potter?
Phoenix.
She's a phoenix.
Chloe the Phoenix.
More refined.
There we go.
More refined.
He is asked anyway, Andy Craig, how do you manage stress and fatigue, burnout with so much travel and so many athletes? How do you manage that, Carl?
How do I manage that?
Not very fucking well. There's a pack of tablets around you somewhere called modafinil.
What's that by? Just take it when you can get it.
Yeah.
Take it when you can get it. When I'm at home and we're like this, I'll work till late, but I'll always make sure I get 6 hours of sleep.
Always 6.
Always 6. If I go to bed at 1 a.m, I'll get up at 7. If I go to bed at 10, I'll get up at whatever 6 hours.
Just sleep is work right through, but sleep.
Yeah, I'll just make sure I get 6 hours, and I feel fine on 6 hours.
Yeah.
Well, the only time that it's really hard to manage is when we're away and we're jet lagged. Then it's like a bit of a pain in the ass. Yeah. Your check-in times are different. You got time zone changes. You're tired anyway because your circadian rhythm's fucked.
What about when check-ins are happening? Like, say for Mitch now, he's 5 hours behind or whatever you said. Through the night, are you getting up through the night as well?
Yeah.
Quick, get up and then go back to sleep.
Yeah. Like if the boy, like we had a couple of lads competing at the North Americans. A couple of lads competing in the U-verse in the USA, and that was the same thing where they're in LA for one of the shows and they're in Vegas for the other one, and that was the same thing where I was like, just set alarms and just like you need to check it at this time. I'll wake up, I'll send you your diet, and then go back to bed.
There we go.
But I think it's just something you get used to.
You definitely get used to it because people ask me about my lack of sleep, and it is
just normal.
I think you get conditioned to it over time.
Yeah, 100%.
It's not great that if I need to go on an hour's sleep, I can do it, and I'm sure you could as well.
Yeah.
But it's because you've conditioned yourself to do it. But then it's about cashing in on the sleep when you've got it.
Exactly.
On those days off.
Exactly. And it's like it's also the mindset that. Well, there's probably 2 things. For you and Andy, you're obviously balancing competitive bodybuilding at the same time. I'm not. I'm just training for enjoyment and for escapism as well, and because I love to train.
Yeah.
So there's not as much of a pull for me to say I've got to work out 5 times a week this week. I've got to get these sessions, and I've got to log with those sessions. I'll just go in and I'll just train instinctively, but I'll just enjoy an hour or 90 minutes in the gym.
Yeah.
That might happen 5 days a week. That might happen 3 days a week. If we're like super busy, it might happen 1 day a week. But
that's quite refreshing after being.
Yeah, it's just like auto-regulating it based on how I feel, and it's nice to be able to do that when I've done it so long, where it's been
militant, like
if I've got to train at 9 p.m. and do this, and it's like that's the only time I train. That's the time I'll train.
Yeah. Heavy Duty Gymwear, who sponsors the show, shout out to them.
Yeah.
What's one of the hardest obstacles you've had to overcome in your journey as a coach? Obviously, this would be
hardest obstacles,
or the hardest obstacle. Did you ever have what people scream about is the imposter syndrome? Did you ever have that coming up as a coach? Or I reckon you were probably established before this became a thing. I don't know.
I think because of M10 I didn't. I didn't.
Because you came through that system, yeah.
Because the first year of M10 I was teaching the physique camps with James and Mark. Which nobody really else did. Apart from Dan, but obviously Dan had been doing it for time. And I think being around those guys, because I wasn't like the forefront, but I'd do like an hour in an 8-hour day or something. They'd be like, right, you can close the day or you can demo this. And I think because I did that for a couple of years and I was like in the fringe of those, guys that were like leading in the industry.
Yeah.
I think because I went into that very, very high pressure environment at the start, after I'd done that for a couple of years, I was like, I just kind of know my place now, and I know what I'm good at, and I've got that experience.
Yeah.
And then now, I don't really like. There's very few times where, we never will. I don't like step back and go, oh, look what we've done, or look what we've achieved, or look at that. It's like just crack on and do it.
I've heard that from a lot of people that are actually.
Because people will stop and be like, or they'll text me on social media and be like, oh, what you've achieved in this amount of time frame is incredible, but like you never really think about it.
No,
you never really think about it.
Blinkers on kind of thing. Yeah.
Which you're probably like when you stop, when you slow down, and when I get to that point where I can take back control of, I can train more and I can enjoy it and I can find balance again. I could do that now. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to because I know there's more growth to be had.
Yeah.
That's the important thing. Yeah. It's not like me saying you can't do it. I could definitely do it now.
Yeah.
And I could reduce the workload and I could take a step back. But I think the first step of me doing that is when Hannah's given birth and we've got a kid, and it's like, right, now it's your time to re-strategize your time and make sure that's manageable and make sure you can give enough time for both.
Yeah.
But until then, it's like I'll just.
When you need to make that.
I need to, yeah.
Yeah.
And when it happens, it happens. But for now, it's like just make bread whilst the oven's hot, so to speak.
Yeah, you hear a lot of people saying that in the same position, I think, in different lanes or whatever, that they don't really focus on. I think Fuad's talked about in the past where his bodybuilding career was like blur.
Yeah.
He talks about the blur.
Yeah.
Because you saw tunnel vision on
focused on, yeah.
I kind of went through that with DJing. Like, I didn't look, when I look back at what I've done with DJing and people I was around doing that, I didn't really think it at the time. Think too much about it at the time, but now when I look back, it's wicked to see. Yeah. Last question from the gram. I won't say the person because of the question, but thoughts on GH for an off-season recovery phase for a bikini athlete?
A bikini athlete?
Yes.
Bit of Jenna dropping. I like it, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, I like it. The female PD toolbox, you want to spend most of your time in that non-androgen based box. So the growth hormone would be one of the first go-tos there in terms of the ability for you to benefit from something whilst not driving more significant deleterious impacts on health, like viralization and blood work skewing, etc. For the female, the biggest thing is viralization for the most part, and look at growth hormone as a tool that you've got something there that's a large resource for recovery and body composition management, fat loss, sleep quality, general well-being that doesn't burn any bridges in regards to health. That would be a nice tool to have there in the toolbox available.
So all the bits from prep, pull out, and then go on to GH.
Yeah, you might have a female using HRT, you might be using like exogenous estrogen or exogenous testosterone post-prep if that was needed, or whether you're managing that. Because obviously not most, but like people that maybe aren't as aware or adept in this, they'll say a female client typically, say it's like a figure or a bikini competitor, they're probably on in a prep, in the MPC, T3, T4 clen, yohimbine, 5 to 10 milligrams of NOR a day. Some might use a little bit of Primo. And then when they finish prep, they'll go cold turkey on the androgens. Some of them might even pull the thyroid out straight away, which is going to be an interesting concoction when they start falling off the diet.
Yeah.
But they'll pull the androgens out and they'll have gone from maintaining this nice threshold, maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 nanomolar, to rock bottom. And obviously their body's now still suppressed in terms of that. You look at the hypothalamus and the pituitary and the ability for them to produce estrogen and testosterone, particularly testosterone, they're still in a very suppressed state for a long period of time. So they've gone from having these sweet hormones that are going to drive this insane physique to then rock bottom. And then they're spending 6, 7, 8 months trying to fix that. Whereas when you use a HRT situation and like that, that's like the foundation layer of the stack year round, and then you're just creeping above that when you need to at key times. But then when you finish prep, you pull out all the extra goodies and you're just left with the HRT, which holds you in a good spot.
Okay. I have actually got one more.
Finally.
From my boy Liam. I haven't read this yet. What's Cal's favourite class to coach, and which class does he find the most difficult to coach due to the different criterias and the looks needed? Class 2 bodybuilding NBC.
Good question.
Yeah, go on. This is the last one off the gram.
What class do I enjoy the most to coach?
Yeah.
The process of classic physique I really like.
Yeah.
Making weight for most people. And then managing a peak at the same time as hitting a threshold for a cap is fun. 212 is quite similar.
Yeah.
But classic physique, 212 is a very specific look. Classic physique, you're going to get a wide breadth of physiques and looks and condition and shape and structure and size, and I like classic a lot. Open I like, but open's very complex. Open's a hard. You look at someone like Nath Styles or even like Mark last year. Open is a hard balancing act to hold a lot of tissue on a frame and then balance both sides of the equation. And it's a lot of fun. It's fucking great working with such big individuals with lots of muscles. I love the look, but that is it's a more complex process to manage. Classic physique is fun. Men's physique I really enjoy because it's, in essence, and men's physique's a little bit more clicky in terms of the look overall. Certain looks get awarded, certain looks don't.
Yeah.
But men's physique is like peak them well, get them inside out, have a good structure, but condition is like a big thing there.
Yeah.
It's like driving condition and peaking well for men's physique is really fun. Female classes, bikini is, I find, probably one of the most non-straightforward competitive judging in the whole.
Blew my mind this weekend.
In the whole situation, because like it's very different from what country you're in, what show you're doing. And like the other classes, like there are fundamentals for the criteria, but I do find that bikini is probably the one that does vary the most. Yeah. Figure's a lot of fun because you can get slightly more heavily muscled girls and sharper condition. Mm-hmm. Wellness is a lot of fun because it's like the extreme of bikini, but it's with massive legs, and condition can be sharper. And then WPD, I don't have any women's bodybuilders at the moment. WPD is I guess the other extreme to figure, where it's just conditions on another level.
Yeah.
But I think men's class is probably classic physique, just because of the complexity of making weight and then nailing the look. And then men's physique is probably the most straightforward, but the most fun in terms of not having the stress of weight caps yet. Yeah. And hitting condition. And then open is a slightly more complex process in the prep itself, but like putting someone on stage who's like 300 pound peeled is like, it's very cool, very cool to see.
So just to finish it up on, I've left my vape in here, never mind. I can manage 5 minutes. Finish up on my prep, my plans. Overall thoughts on this year? Looks, peaks,
very good look.
results.
Yeah, it was a good look. It was straightforward peaks relative to what we had in NABA for that last prep.
Yeah.
Condition wise, best we've ever had. Tissue wise, best we've ever had. Overall, close.
Fuck the overalls.
Close. But
I'm only joking.
You've got to be objective, and you've got to think. Look, there's two really good class wins there in a class that you've not competed in to date, and for what the variables that you could control, you've nailed. So you've nailed. You've nailed the conditioning. You've brought way more tissue to stage. You've owned like a legitimate class 2/heavyweight lineup twice.
Yeah.
And it's like the overall is like it's just preference.
It is what it is, isn't it?
It is what it is.
Oscar said to me after the show on text, the time is right when the time is right.
Yeah.
As Oscar likes to say. I think that's what he said anyway. But he said about it earlier on the Procoach podcast. It is what it is, and it hurt, the last one especially.
Yeah.
Not so much Luca, because I was worried about Luca anyway, but just because so many people were saying about the last one. But it is what it is. And then, so off season now, and then the plan for next year. What's you say the numbers, because I don't want to say the numbers because it sounds like I'm giving it the big one in terms of like what
Masters Olympia
expectations.
Well, how many pounds was it this year stage weight?
It was £10 upwards, and it's so 210 from 200 and NABA.
Yeah, I think with one more push, I think if you go into a an improvement phase, you're either going to be bottom end of super heavies or very top end of heavies. And strategically, it makes the most sense to be inside out at the very top end of heavyweights. And then once you've eaten up a little bit more, you're going to be mid to high 220s anyway. Yeah. But for you to put more improvements on in the areas that we know you need to put them on, in the areas that we know we can, it's getting maxed out in that top end heavyweight threshold. Because you going in at the high 220s and going in as a light super heavyweight is you kind of lose your strategic advantage.
We're kind of back to where we were last year, I guess.
Yeah. Whereas if you go out maxed out in a heavyweight class at the very top of the cap, then it's like you're in a really dominant position in that.
Yeah. Sweet. And it's achievable, you think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be more achievable this time than the last year was.
Yeah.
Because there's less ground to cover.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so. Sweet, man. Exciting.
Very.
The YouTube will continue for the prep series, so check that out.
Yes.
Cal, thank you for coming on the podcast. Where can people get these lovely t-shirts you're wearing?
Go on my Instagram. You can on yours if you want to. Go on my Instagram and it's in the bio, or you can type in Got Merch Procoach in Google and it will come up in Google.
T-shirts, hats, hoodies,
T-shirts,
socks.
hats, hoodies, socks, bags, jumpers, vests, shorts. That's about it.
Killing the merch game. Calum_Team Procoach. They should already know all this. Top man, thank you very much for your time. Thank you, Hannah, for putting up with me.
Thank you, Ava, for not screaming.
Yeah, we got past that. Thank you for watching, listening. Please subscribe, like, comment. Let me know who else you want me to get in the hot seat on my travels. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace.